Hey everybody, it's Chase with AV Pop Culture again, and today we are here to take a look at some really great movies that are stuck on VHS. So pop that tape in, I got you, let's go do this. Okay, so with all of the talk and the excitement from a lot of people, including me, over Iced being released by Vinegar Syndrome, it's one of those movies that was stuck notoriously on VHS, never got a DVD release, much less a Blu-ray or 4K, and then here it comes. There are actually surprisingly a big amount of movies that we grew up with, kind of enjoying as, those old mom and pop VHS, movie rental stores, things like that, that a little bit of us older guys maybe grew up with, and then into the later 80s and 90s. There's a lot of those that never made the jump here, especially here in the United States, from DVD or from VHS to DVD, much less Blu-ray or 4K. And some of them are kind of surprising, and then some of them are just those classic movie rental store type movies that we would all love to see come to Blu-ray or 4K, get those restorations, if for no other reason than just to satisfy that nostalgia and take us back to those days. I was just recently watching the release of Last Video Store by Arrow, which is an independent film. I'm an independent filmmaker, and it kind of captured all that nostalgia for those old B movies and sex comedies, all that kind of stuff that we grew up with in the 80s. And it got me thinking about it. So I'm going to do 10 movies that I would like to see. Now, a couple of these, if you guys follow me, you know that I am somebody that wants to open my own boutique. I want to restore films. And a few of these are movies that I would actually try to get Chase's targets, acquire those, restore them, and put them out. And one movie like that is not really on the list, but is one that I actually have. It's called Runestone. And you kind of recognize this is the bad guy from Die Hard, one of the bad guys from Die Hard. And it's sort of like I don't know, it's got a little bit of a Norse Viking mythology to it, and you kind of see the stuff here, Celtic, like all that kind of stuff, Scandinavia, however you want to. I haven't actually watched this one in a minute, but this is one of the ones I have that I realized was stuck on VHS. And a little caveat to that, there might be a couple of these that have had overseas releases at some point along the line, but they're out of print too. None of these are readily available, and none that I could find had a domestic release. So a little bit of a caveat there. This is one where they accidentally released this wolf-like creature who had been trapped. So you're going to get a lot of these creature features. Like I said, the sort of boobs and laughs sex comedies from the 80s. A lot of that kind of stuff. But you're also going to get some early starts from big-time film writers, makers, directors, stuff like that are mixed into this stuff that needs to be preserved. So Runestone just kind of kicks it off. I don't have a lot of these. If you follow me, you also know that I got rid of most of my VHS collection several years ago, and I really wish I hadn't. But at number 10 is one that I watched somewhat recently. And some of these can be found on streaming, though usually they're bad quality, edited, or you just can't find them at all. I'm talking about Warrior Queen from 1987. This stars Sybil Danning, who's in The Howling 2 that just got a release by Vinegar Syndrome. But it also has Donald Pleasance and Samantha Fox in this movie. And it is sort of like, it takes place in like ancient Pompeii right before the volcano is supposed to explode. And there is basically a human type trade going on. They buy other people, trade other people to put them into servitude, not just cleaning their house, but you know what I'm saying here. They have to be readily available. I don't know what might get me flagged and might not. But they have this mysterious badass warrior queen who starts to move amongst the elites, and she helps them escape. And this is all happening as the famous volcano, is it Mount Vesuvius, that is about to blow up. I can't remember, and I'm a history teacher, so that's pretty bad. But anyway, Pompeii is about to go off like the 4th of July, and this is all happening. It's a really short movie. I know there was some cut to make it get an R rating. So there's definitely some skin in there, and it's just one of those kind of almost a sword and sandal type thing, but not quite, and one that has some recognizable faces. It's one that I would target. I think it would be fun. The artwork alone is going to be super cool on that. I would like to target that and restore it myself. So Warrior Queen has to make my list. Now, number 9 on the list is one done by the makers of the way more famous sort of skin sex comedy from the 80s, Hard Bodies. But I'm talking about Body Waves. So they liked the body in the title. And it's actually from 1992. But man, when you watch it, it definitely feels like the 80s. It's about a kind of cocky, arrogant, wealthy kid who wants to prove to his dad that he can make it on his own without the family business, without the family money. And he makes him a bet. Well, over the course of this bet, he somehow makes this wax. It's like our sex cream. It's like, it's a magic potion, basically. And the cream actually works, which is pretty funny. That sets up a lot of funny stuff. This is definitely from the era where people didn't get offended so easy. There's a lot of stuff that would not be able to be put into a movie now, which is why I would like to grab it and preserve it myself. So it's one of those targets that I would like to do. But I just think there's room for more comedies. Everything doesn't have to be so serious all the time. And you can tell the people were having fun with it, even the actresses that are doing the nudity. It just are being in bathing suits and sort of the innuendo and the comedy and all of that stuff. It was offensive and funny, not serious, and not meant to be taken seriously. And you could tell the people were having fun with it. It is in the vein of those 80s raunchy comedies that are just kind of lighthearted overall. Even if they have stuff that would be offensive now, it is lighthearted overall. Just comes from a different time. That's the kind of stuff we need to preserve. So Body Waves comes in on this list at number 9. One that I would target to try to restore. At number 8 on this list is one that actually spawned there's kind of a remake of it out there right now. This is Demon Murder Case from 1983. This actually stars Kevin Bacon, Andy Griffith, and Cloris Leachman. This was sort of a made-for-TV movie back when they made movies for TV that were a lot better and taken a lot more seriously. But this is the story you know this as now is Conjuring the Devil Made Me Do It. Now, they changed names and stuff in here, but you basically have Andy Griffith playing the Ed Warren role in this, of the famous Warrens in the Conjuring series. And it's the story of a boy that said that he's possessed by demons and the devil made him do it, basically. So it's one of those that's interesting because it has some big names in it and it is just completely lost. And there might be some legalities there because why it's lost, although they did do the Conjuring movie that is basically about this same thing. So a very interesting one here. I am shocked it hasn't been done with the names involved and just that title. I mean, that screams like Scream Factory. Vinegar Syndrome or maybe even Severin to me. It just does. And then you have Kevin Bacon, Andy Griffith, Cloris Leachman. You have some names in there. So I think it's one that could easily make that jump and be sold. Anytime you have names that people recognize, that's going to help. And then at number 7 on the list is another one of those kind of screwball comedies that we just don't get anymore. This one also feels very 80s, even though it's 1990. I'm talking about Club Fed. Now, this stars Burt Young, Paulie from the Rocky movies, Judy Landers, and Sherman Hemsley. Moving on up. But this is a story about a powerful gangster who gets killed. He dies, but all of his assets, all of his holdings belong to his girlfriend. And she basically gets in trouble for his stuff, and she gets sent to a minimum security prison where everyone there is absolutely filthy rich. And she falls in love with an undercover FBI agent who's in there. It has a lot of, this one will give you some serious belly laughs. I didn't rewatch all of these before I did this list, but this is one that I rewatched some of, and I forgot how much you laughed. And this is definitely one that some random night in 1991 I probably saw on VHS from a rental store, just grabbing it because of the cover art and people I recognized. So Club Fed comes in at number 7 on the list. At number 6 on the list is one that I had to put on here because everyone involved with it in the making of it went on to do such big things. And this was like this was the 1980s. I didn't grab the date on this one, but it is called The Comrades of Summer. So not the Boys of Summer. This is The Comrades of Summer. This was directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, Halloween 3, It. It was written by the writer of Saving Private Ryan, and it was edited by the same guy who edited Avatar. So it had a lot of people who did big things that went into this, and it stars Joe Mantegna as a kind of down on his luck former professional baseball player and coach, and he goes to Russia, the USSR. I want to say this is 1983, because this is before the downfall of the USSR, the downfall of communism in Russia, and he has to teach this team baseball and get them to a point where maybe they could even go into the Olympics as a baseball team. But I have to admit, I have not seen this one fully I don't even remember. I tried to find it. I can't find it out there. But the amount of people, Tommy Lee Wallace directing, the writer of Saving Private Ryan, the editor of Avatar. That's a lot packed into a movie like this. And I think you could, if you wanted to grab this and restore it, if you're Vinegar Syndrome or you're Severin or somebody like that, I think you could probably move this title just based on all of that, selling all of that alone. So The Comrades of Summer comes in at number 6. Now, at number 5 is the movie. I've seen this one a few times, and I am 1,000,000% convinced that they stole the idea from this movie to make Hotel Transylvania. And I'm talking about 1979's Nocturna. This stars Nay Bonet, I hope I got that right, as Nocturna. But it also stars John Carradine as Dracula and Yvonne DiCarlo in this movie. Yvonne DiCarlo of Lily Munster. She was also in 10 Commandments. Was a beautiful, sexy knockout of a woman back then. The story of this. So an aging Dracula converts Dracula's castle into a hotel to get money because he owes taxes and he needs money. And his granddaughter, Nocturna, actually hires I think it's a disco band, if I remember correctly, a disco band to come and play at the hotel. And she falls in love with sort of basically the lead guitarist, Jimmy. And she follows him to New York, I think it is, and she wants to live in his world, have a mortal life, all of this stuff, while Granddad Dracula is dealing with these problems at his Hotel Transylvania. It is Hotel Transylvania 100%. Although you're going to see a little more skin and it's going to have a little bit more of that in it. It's not a great movie, but with the cast and the concept, this is one I would 100% target to restore. The art is fabulous on this thing that already exists. The concept is totally Hotel Transylvania. I think you could sell that. I just think it would be a fun old title to preserve, and you have like Yvonne DiCarlo and Carradine in there together. That's enough reason for me. And then you tie it into today, like the foundations of Hotel Transylvania. That's what I think of it as. The first time I saw Hotel Transylvania, I was like, did they spoof this movie? 100%. You can draw a lot of those correlations there. So Nocturna comes in on my list at number 5, still stuck on VHS out there. At number 4 is one that I would definitely target to acquire and restore, and I know a lot of people have asked for this one, but this is Beastmaster II, Through the Portal of Time. And this one's from 1991, and again, some of these early 90s movies, especially the lower budget early 90s movies, felt like 80s movies, 1,000,000%. And this one's no different. You have Mark Singer is back in this, and Dar has to travel through a portal to basically our time and world to stop his brother from stealing the nuclear bomb, the atomic bomb. Pretty ridiculous, but it's fun. It is that fun kind of crap that we grew up with that just fills you with nostalgia, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. It made me think of it in this movie that I watched, The Last Video Store from Arrow, where just some of this is like schlocky stuff, but he kind of talks about that. The one character in that movie kind of talks about it. He says, it's about the nostalgia and bonding, and the movies don't have to be technically good. It's what they do for your soul, your connection to other people, the vibes, the nostalgia that they bring to you, that you bottle it and sell it in the form of those movies. That's what it is. And I keep talking about this movie. I'm going to show it to you. Here's the movie I keep referencing. I just watched this. I enjoyed it. I'm an indie filmmaker. This was done by indie filmmakers who have a love and nostalgia for those old days and those old VHS movies. I enjoyed it. There's a lot of people that grew up in the age of digital and streaming and high budget movies. They may never appreciate stuff like this because as a community, honestly, out here in the physical media world, a lot of people think that they're into indie movies. There is a lost, like, from, I want to say about 2005 to 2020 or so. There is so many independent, low-budget films that nobody in this community talks about that are good. Those were movies out there where I was working, making movies when the digital came in and all that stuff, and you had filmmakers out there figuring it out, and a lot of us crawled so that these digital filmmakers now can run and fly. And that kind of captures this here. I may do a whole review of this with a couple other things if you guys are interested, but it kind of reminds me of this a little bit. So Beastmaster 2, definitely one I would look to acquire if nobody does it. I think it would be an awesome 4K. You had Don Coscarelli back assisting the writing on that one too. So Beastmaster 2, definitely one I would pick up. At number 3 is one that may have had a overseas old DVD release somewhere lost to time. I saw some images. Sometimes you have to be careful because people think, oh, there is a Blu-ray or DVD out there and it's a homebrew. It's not a real release, or a release got rumored and it never happened. But I'm talking about 1980s Blood Beach. I think this one might have been talked about in like In Search of Darkness, but I haven't really heard anybody talk about it in a long time. You got Burt Young again. He was out there laying it down, living off of Rocky a little bit. Marion Hill is in this, and John Saxon from the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, among other things, is in this movie. And it's a basic, simple premise. Something is attacking people and killing people at the beach. And these friends who used to hang out there, they kind of come together and uncover this creature that's doing the killing. This is tailor made for our audience today in physical media that love these 4K restorations of movies like this. Blood Beach. It sounds crazy to say this, but it might be too expensive. Somebody might be holding on to it, keeping it because of just the cult value of it. But as far as I can tell, here in the United States, it's stuck on VHS, and it is one that definitely would sell and probably move well, and people would enjoy buying. Great art on this one too. It comes in at number 3. Now the next two, 100% for me, are ones that I would try to chase as targets, acquire, restore. Love these movies. I actually really do enjoy these a lot. The first one up is 1980. I think it's 89. Is it 89? Is Elves. And this stars Dan Haggerty. And the premise of this one's kind of messed up. A woman finds out that she is part of a breeding experiment with elves. And her and some friends are trapped in a store with an elf, and only like this badass rogue Santa Claus can save them. So you got Dan Haggerty in here. And yeah, it's as crazy as it sounds, but man, would this fly off the shelves. This would be great in 4K. I think Garrett at Born to Be Rad, he's mentioned this a couple times. This is one of those that needs the love. This needs the 4K. If it's out there, we'll put that thing on the same machine they're using to restore Reanimator, and we'll get it lit and get it out there. I would love to pick it up. Now, I think it's owned by the same people that owned Reanimator, so I don't know. They may be starting to up their prices on stuff, but this is one that deserves it. This is one that I would target. I'd put money in to restore for sure and put out there because I think it would move. And it has so much nostalgia vibes to it, old school style. So Elves comes in at number 2 on my stuck on VHS and shouldn't be list. And at number 1, this is one, I love horror anthologies. This is a horror anthology with James Earl Jones and Brad Dourif starring in it. And it also stars William Atherton. So you have some big names, and James Earl Jones did the voiceover for the trailer for this movie. He tells scary stories in this movie. I'm talking about 1990s grim prairie tales. Now, of course, that's a take on grim fairy tales. And I've heard some people say they don't like this. I really like this movie. Is it dripping with blood and super duper scary? No. But is it eerie as hell? And the simple premise to this is Brad Dourif and James Earl Jones. This is kind of set in like the Old West. So in some ways, it's got a little bit of Western vibes. They're out on in the desert prairie type situation. And they meet each other passing while traveling, and they're going to hunker down for the night together because it's cold and they're building a fire. And James Earl Jones is this crotchety, like grouchy, gruff bounty hunter, and Brad Dourif is like this geeky city guy, and he's trying to go visit his mother for Christmas, and James Earl Jones is trying to cash in on a big bounty. So he's got this dead guy that he's traveling with. He throws him down out by the fire, and they spend the night together trying to keep warm, and they tell each other ghost stories, and they're trying to kind of one-up each other each time, and they kind of build this friendship. I really love the wraparound story, the two characters in this, and you actually do get to see them a lot. So, I mean, I would take seeing them more, but you get to see them a lot. I think the third story in this is the best, but growing up, so I was like 11 maybe when this hit. It was the second story in this, and I'm not going to give a bunch of details, but it's the second story in this that totally scarred me. This is the one I'm going to talk about most. And then this one doesn't star William Atherton. He stars in the third story, which is told by Dourif, and it's probably the best story in here, but the second story scarred me, man. Because I was just about to hit that time in my life where these kind of things were getting interesting. But this guy meets this girl on the prairie out in the wild, and he tries to help her And she is not what she seems, but she tries to, be nice. He befriends her. He's going to take care of her. He goes to sleep. He's got him a fire built. He's trying to get her to safety, but they got to spend the night. And she starts coming on to him very, very, very hard. And they get into the act. She suckers him into the act. And at some point, right when he's about to be finished, she finishes him off by sucking his whole body inside her. And then the next morning, she wakes up pregnant. Super disturbing. You see this guy get sucked into her. Let's just say that. You know exactly how that's happening. Holy, 11-year-old me was like, oh, bro. No way. No way. Because you see him butt first from behind get pulled in, and holy man, is it disturbing. Now, this movie is not like I said, it's not super bloody. It's not super scary. The stories are more interesting and kind of disturbing and kind of serve as warnings in some way and carry messages in others. And I actually like the very ending of this. A lot of people don't like it. I like it as kind of a classic ending to a Western and two buddies that have found each other. I actually really like the very end and the wraparound story. This is one, you got James Earl Jones, you got Brad Dourif, you got William Atherton, famous bad guy, Die Hard, all that kind of stuff. This is one, I think it would super fly off the shelves. It's a horror anthology. James Earl Jones, so prominent in the movie, and he just passed away, but it's dark and it's firelit through so much of it. And then you have this sweeping scenery out in the desert too. It would look outstanding on a 4K if you could get a hold to it. I don't know why this one hasn't moved from VHS. I know overseas, there might have been a German DVD at some point along the line, but no official release here that I have been able to find throughout the years. And this is one I would put a lot into going after this one and Elves and Beastmaster II, Warrior Queen, Body Waves. Those would probably be my top 5, and then I would try to get Nocturna. I think those would move. I think those would be fun. I think they deserve more than being lost to VHS. And that's part of what all this is about. It's not just about giving us, oh, why did they release that? Why did they release it? First of all, you will never hear me complain about any movie getting a 4K release if it's never been done. Now, if they keep releasing the same movie and just in different packaging over and over and over again, yes, you'll hear me complain. But if a movie has never come to 4K, you will never hear me complain, even if I don't want it, because at some point I want all of these movies restored and moved to 4K so that they are preserved. I don't know why anybody would not want that. There's no reason to complain. Eventually, though, hopefully the idea is that we're going to get around to all of these and we don't do what we did when we left VHS and leave a bunch of movies behind. So you'll never hear me complain about one, but these are ones that I would love to, some of them I would grab. I'd target right now and start trying to get them restored if I could put my hands on them. And they're stuck on VHS, and hopefully that won't be the case forever. Either somebody like me that can get the money together and get it going, or one of these boutiques out here will get it going. But I would love to see them, and that is my list. Let me know some others. What do you think of any of these? Are these ones that you thought about? I know some of you are going to come and say, oh, well, this one had a Blu-ray release in Germany, or a DVD release years ago. These are not wide release. They're not in the United States. They've been lost. There's only a couple that even maybe fit that category. And these are basically still stuck on VHS, particularly here. So that is the point of it, rescuing these films. And I hope you enjoyed this. If you have, please like and subscribe. We do it all here. We do physical media news, 4K reviews, lists, rankings, physical media discussions like this, the occasional rant, whatever. If that sounds like your jam, you can help support the channel by joining below at my Patreon or right here at my YouTube channel. Become a channel member. The links are below. and get your name and lights on every video, behind the scenes, special members only videos, looks at my filmmaking and stuff like that. People ask me a lot, or people that are new to the channel, they're like, what do you know about this or that? Well, I have been making films for over 20 years. I edit and make films for a living. So I taught film. So I don't know everything, but I know a few things, and I love talking about it and just sharing all this with you because I am also a big, big fan. But until next time, one like this, you know for sure I got to say it. Be kind, rewind like always. This is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.
I know.